the studio fell completely silent. Elon Musk's son, stood alone on stage. No flashy gadgets, no speeches, just a prayer that would shake the world. Oprah's breath caught as the boy's voice, steady yet fragile, filled the air, carrying words that felt like a whisper from heaven itself. "I don't have all the answers," X began softly, "but this prayer is everything I have. Please listen." Cameras zoomed in, capturing every tremble of his lips, every flicker of hope in his young eyes, and the crowd leaned in, hearts pounding. It wasn't just a prayer, it was a message, raw, pure, and urgent, coming from a boy who's seen the impossible and dared to believe. The audience held their breath, caught between disbelief and awe, as the prayer wove through their souls like a gentle storm. Oprah's eyes glistened with tears, not from sadness, but from the unexpected power flowing from a boy many only knew as X. Every word echoed a universal longing for peace, hope, and love, reminding the world that sometimes the simplest prayers speak the loudest truths. The weight of that moment lingered long after the last word, as if the whole universe paused to listen. And in that fragile silence, something shifted. A quiet miracle sparked, born from a child's fearless faith shared on live television. Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. The boy's hands trembled as he clutched the notebook, a small book filled with words he had poured his heart into during quiet nights. His prayer wasn't about wealth or fame, it was a humble call for healing in a world so deeply fractured. "This isn't just my prayer," he whispered. "It's the prayer of every child who's ever felt alone or scared." The crowd leaned closer, drawn in by the raw honesty wrapped in his quiet voice, each word like a lifeline reaching out. Oprah, sitting with tears welling, whispered under her breath, "So much wisdom, so much hope, from someone so young." Cameras captured the sweat on his brow, the innocence mixed with determination, a rare courage that made the studio hold its breath. For a moment, it felt as if time had stopped, the noise of the world faded, leaving only the power of his words. His prayer asked not for miracles in the grandest sense, but for small kindnesses, light in the darkest places. It was the kind of prayer that reached into hearts and refused to let go, echoing long after it was spoken. And in that quiet room, millions watching felt a stirring, something ancient and beautiful, sparked by a boy's simple faith. Oprah's famous composure shattered just for a moment when she saw something in X's prayer that spoke to her own hidden fears. She reached for her tissue, eyes glistening, moved by the purity and strength behind those simple words. "I've interviewed hundreds of people," Oprah later confessed, "but never has a child's prayer left me so profoundly touched." The cameras caught her face, raw and vulnerable, a reminder that sometimes even the strongest hearts can break open. Her voice cracked as she thanked X, acknowledging the rare bravery it took to share such intimate hope in front of millions. "This child isn't just Elon Musk's son," she said softly. "He's a beacon for all of us." The room seemed to hold its breath again, every eye fixed on the boy who had just changed the mood of the entire studio. Oprah's tears weren't just for the prayer, but for the reminder of what humanity could be if more voices like his were heard. It was a moment of grace, the kind that feels too fragile for words but too important to ignore. And the world watched, hearts swelling, knowing they had witnessed something unforgettable. News of X's prayer spread like wildfire across cities, countries, languages, touching millions who longed for the same hope. Social media exploded with clips of the moment as strangers shared tears and words of encouragement across continents. People from diverse faiths and backgrounds found unity in those heartfelt words, a universal plea for peace and love. "A child's prayer brought us together," read one post, echoing the feelings of many who saw beyond fame to pure humanity. The power of those words transcended borders, reminding the world that hope speaks a language everyone understands. In homes thousands of miles away, families gathered around screens, feeling the warmth of a shared moment. It was a rare reminder that faith and courage don't belong to any one person. They belong to all of us. Some viewers were moved to tears, others to action, volunteering, calling loved ones, or simply sitting quietly in reflection. The boy's prayer had become a symbol, a fragile yet fierce spark that ignited compassion worldwide. And as the sun set in distant lands, millions whispered the prayer quietly to themselves, clutching onto its promise. Few knew what drove X to stand before the world and share that prayer. Beyond the spotlight, beyond the fame, was a quiet, determined soul. Backstage, he sat alone, rehearsing not words of grandeur, but the simple truths that had settled deep inside him. His family watched nervously, unsure if the world was ready to hear the unfiltered hope of a child. But X was undeterred. He knew this moment wasn't about himself, but about something far bigger than fame or fortune. The boy, who many saw as just Elon Musk's son, was quietly becoming a voice for the unheard. He had seen the struggles of the world from a young age and knew that sometimes a prayer was the strongest weapon. The silence backstage was heavy with anticipation, yet inside X was calm, anchored by the faith he carried. His prayer was born from moments of solitude, of watching the world's chaos and longing for peace. And now, as the lights called him forward, he stepped into history, not with arrogance, but with humble courage. That backstage moment was the quiet before the storm, a boy preparing to change millions of hearts with just words. The studio fell into an almost sacred silence as X stepped up to the microphone, the weight of millions of eyes upon him palpable. It was a moment charged with anticipation, where every heartbeat felt loud enough to echo across the globe. The boy's gaze was steady, voice calm, but beneath it all lay a trembling hope. Hope that his prayer would reach beyond the screen. The room, usually filled with chatter and energy, held only stillness, hanging on the fragile thread of his words. X began not with grand speeches, but with a simple question. Can a prayer change the world? That question rippled through the hearts of every viewer, stirring a silent answer born in their own faith and longing. Each syllable he spoke was measured, deliberate, as if weighing the future on his small shoulders. The cameras captured the slight quiver in his voice, the honest rawness that made the moment unforgettable. And in that hush, something shifted, an invisible current of shared humanity and quiet reverence. For a moment, the world wasn't divided by borders or beliefs. It was united in hope, waiting for his prayer to unfold. His words were simple, but the power behind them was enormous, words that carried the weight of 1,000 prayers. I pray for those who feel forgotten, he said, voice steady but filled with emotion that few adults could summon. His sincerity pulled at the heartstrings of millions, stirring memories of their own silent struggles and dreams. The boy spoke of kindness, of courage in the face of darkness, a prayer for healing not just of bodies, but of souls. There was no pretense or grandiosity, only the purest form of hope from a child who saw the world with clarity. May our hearts find light in the darkest times, he prayed, and the audience could almost feel the warmth spread. The sincerity was infectious. Listeners felt compelled to believe in something greater, something tender yet strong. This was not just a prayer. It was a call to humanity to rise above its fears and divisions. The boy's voice trembled slightly, but his message was unwavering, a beacon of fragile yet unbreakable faith. As he spoke, millions silently echoed his words, finding solace in a child's fearless prayer. Prayer is often invisible, a quiet act that carries unseen power, yet in that studio it felt tangible, almost electric. X's prayer had become a thread weaving through hearts across the world, connecting strangers with a shared sense of hope. The boy understood something profound, that prayer isn't just words, but an offering of trust and courage. His words reminded everyone watching that even the smallest voice can carry the loudest hope. "Prayer is our silent strength," he said softly. "It's the light we carry when the world grows dark." His message touched those who had forgotten how to hope, reigniting a spark deep within their souls. It was a reminder that faith transcends religion. It's a universal language of connection and resilience. Millions felt the invisible thread tighten around their hearts, pulling them towards compassion and understanding. The studio's atmosphere shifted, as if the air itself had been transformed by the boys' humble offering. That day, prayer was no longer just a personal act. It became a collective lifeline, reaching beyond the screen. X's prayer was more than a moment. It was a bridge linking past and future generations through hope and faith. In households worldwide, parents paused to share the boy's words with their children, passing down a legacy of courage. His prayer echoed ancient traditions, yet felt startlingly fresh, as if reminding us all of timeless truths. "We stand on the shoulders of those who prayed before us," X said, "and now it's our turn to carry the light." The resonance of his words stirred memories of family gatherings, whispered prayers, and quiet moments of reflection. His prayer became a thread tying the hopes of ancestors to the dreams of children yet to be born. Viewers felt themselves part of a larger story, one of faith enduring despite hardship and uncertainty. It was a reminder that prayer and hope are the invisible inheritance we give to those who follow. The boy's voice carried the weight of history, yet it was filled with a promise of renewal and peace. Across generations, his prayer wove an unbreakable bond, a shared language of resilience and love. As X finished, the studio was swallowed by silence, an almost sacred pause that spoke louder than words. No one rushed to speak. The moment hung in the air, heavy with meaning and unspoken emotion. Oprah sat still, hands folded, eyes shining with unshed tears, a silent witness to something extraordinary. The silence was not empty. It was full of reflection, of hearts opening slowly to the boy's message. In that stillness, millions at home felt the impact deepen, as if the prayer had settled into their bones. It was a rare moment when the world collectively paused to listen, to breathe, to hope. That quiet space held the promise that even in darkness there is light waiting to be found. The boy's prayer wasn't just heard, it was felt, a gentle echo inside every soul watching. And as the silence stretched, it became clear this moment would not soon be forgotten. The prayer had sown seeds of courage and kindness, seeds that would grow long after the cameras stopped rolling. What began as a quiet prayer on live TV became a ripple, moving quietly but powerfully across continents and hearts. The world was watching, but it was the unseen ripples, the small acts of kindness, that revealed the true power of X's words. From classrooms to boardrooms, his message sparked conversations about faith, hope, and the strength we find in vulnerability. People shared the prayer on social media, but more importantly, they began living its message in their daily lives. A mother whispered it to her child as a bedtime blessing. A stranger offered a helping hand to someone in need. This ripple of prayer showed how one small voice could awaken the sleeping goodness in millions of souls. The boy's courage inspired others to speak their own truth, to share their own moments of grace. The ripple was unstoppable, a quiet revolution of love spreading through every corner of the earth. What was once just a prayer became a movement, gentle yet unyielding, calling humanity back to its best self. The world began to change, not with thunder, but with the steady pulse of compassion sparked by a child's faith. Behind the bright lights and public prayer was a boy wrestling with doubts, fears, and the weight of expectations. X's faith was not born from certainty, but from the bravery to face the unknown and still believe. Every night, away from cameras, he asked questions that many adults dare not voice aloud. Is my prayer enough? Will anyone truly hear me? These were the silent battles he fought. But instead of surrendering, he learned to hold on to hope like a lifeline in the storm. His journey showed that faith is not the absence of fear, but the courage to stand despite it. This struggle made his prayer all the more real, resonant with anyone who's ever doubted yet dared to believe. It's a reminder that even the strongest among us carry unseen battles, and that's okay. Because faith is not about perfection, it's about persistence, honesty, and the will to keep trying. X's prayer was a beacon shining brightest from the place of deepest struggle and rawest truth. X showed the world that true strength often looks like vulnerability, a child's honest prayer shining with raw emotion. His courage wasn't just in his words, but in his willingness to be seen as he truly was. Vulnerability became his superpower, breaking down walls and building bridges across divides. He reminded millions that it's okay to be imperfect, scared, and uncertain. His prayer wasn't polished or rehearsed, it was authentic, coming straight from his heart. This honesty invited others to lower their own masks and find connection in shared humanity. In a world obsessed with appearing strong, X dared to be real. And that made all the difference. His vulnerability was a gift, inviting compassion and understanding in a way no speech could. This moment sparked a new conversation about strength, showing it is born from truth, not toughness. The boy taught us that when we open our hearts, we open the door to healing. X's prayer wasn't confined by geography, language, or culture. It became a universal call for peace and unity. Across different nations, people found their own meaning in his words, transcending barriers that often divide us. His message was simple but profound. We are more alike than different, connected by shared hopes and fears. Religious leaders, activists, and everyday people alike echoed the prayer's call for kindness and understanding. It became a symbol of hope in places torn apart by conflict and division. This prayer reminded the world that humanity's greatest strength lies in its ability to unite. It reached refugees in camps, children in schools, leaders in halls of power, each touched in their own way. The boy's voice became a bridge, reminding us that no one is truly alone in their struggles. His prayer crossed borders not just physically, but in hearts, creating a web of compassion and care. In a fractured world, the simple prayer of a child shone as a powerful beacon of togetherness. X's prayer arrived like the first light after a long night, a promise that even the darkest times will pass. His words carried the hope of new beginnings, healing, and renewal for those who felt lost. The storm of uncertainty and fear was met with a gentle but unyielding light. People who had felt overwhelmed found comfort in the boy's unwavering belief in brighter days. This prayer became a symbol of resilience, the quiet strength to keep moving forward. His message reminded everyone that storms don't last forever, but the light they bring is eternal. It inspired countless individuals to rise from their struggles, holding on to hope as their guide. The prayer was a call to embrace the dawn, even when the night feels endless. Through his words, X showed the world that faith is the sunrise that follows every storm. And as the light spread, it ignited a collective courage to rebuild, forgive, and dream anew. What started as a simple prayer from a young boy soon moved hearts and minds, like a mountain shifting imperceptibly but powerfully. His words echoed in halls of power, inspiring leaders to rethink what's truly possible when faith fuels action. X's prayer was a call to break through obstacles, not with force, but with unwavering belief. People began sharing stories of personal breakthroughs, all sparked by that moment on live TV. The impossible suddenly seemed possible, mountains no longer insurmountable, because hope gave strength beyond measure. It was more than prayer. It was a movement that redefined courage for a generation. The boy's simple faith reminded us that no mountain is too high when prayer lights the path. From activists to ordinary people, all were moved to climb their own mountains, fueled by his example. The power of faith was palpable, a force capable of turning dreams into reality. This prayer became a symbol of unstoppable momentum, showing the world that mountains bow to persistent hearts. X's prayer awakened a silent strength in millions, a power not loud or boastful, but steady and enduring. It's the strength found in quiet moments of reflection, in tears shed when no one's watching. This strength is the foundation of true courage, forged in humility and faith. The boy's prayer taught us that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Many found their own silent strength through his example, embracing vulnerability as a source of power. It was a reminder that true resilience comes from within, often hidden beneath surface struggles. The world watched as the quiet, persistent power of prayer changed lives without fanfare. X's words became a lighthouse, guiding lost souls to find their inner strength. The silent strength born from faith is the foundation on which hope is built. In a noisy world, his prayer called us back to the power of stillness and trust. Grace appeared unexpectedly in the life of X, a gift born from faith and humble beginnings. His prayer reminded us that grace often grows in the cracks, places we least expect. The boy's story showed how grace can transform brokenness into beauty and hope. People began to see their own lives differently, recognizing moments of grace hidden in everyday struggles. This unexpected grace became a source of healing for those burdened by pain and doubt. X's prayer was a testament to the miraculous power of grace to restore and renew. It taught us that even in the hardest places, grace can bloom and flourish. The gift of grace invites us to forgive, to heal, and to embrace life anew. His prayer was a reminder that grace is always near, waiting to be received. In this gift, the world found a new reason to hope and to believe. X's prayer gave courage to those who had lost their way, inviting them to believe again. For many, faith had faltered, buried under years of doubt and disappointment. The boy's honest prayer pierced through that darkness, lighting a spark of renewed hope. His words became a lifeline, pulling countless souls back from despair's edge. Believing again is never easy. It requires bravery to open a heart that's been broken. X's prayer was proof that courage to believe can arise even in the smallest voices. This courage awakened a wave of new beginnings, healing, and faith across generations. It's a reminder that no matter how deep the fall, belief can lift us higher. The boy's prayer was a beacon calling the world to embrace second chances. Through his faith, many found the courage to trust life and hope once more. The story of X's prayer is a legacy, a gift that will shine long after the moment has passed. It's a legacy of faith, hope, and the power of one child's voice to change the world. His prayer continues to inspire new generations to find strength in vulnerability and grace. The world was forever changed, not by grand gestures, but by a simple, heartfelt prayer. This legacy teaches us that each of us holds the power to create ripples of light. X's prayer reminds us that our smallest acts of faith can leave the greatest impact. It calls us to nurture hope, to live courageously, and to love without reservation. The legacy of a child's prayer is the living proof that miracles begin with belief. It is a torch passed on, lighting the way for all who seek peace and purpose. And so, the prayer lives on, an eternal flame of grace shining brightly through time. What did you think of X's journey and the power of his prayer, and where are you watching this video from? We'd love to hear your thoughts and see your locations in the comments below. Please consider subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others to spread this inspiring story.